Hello, friends. This is Ruby with Career and Advice, Job and Career Advice channel. So many of you requested that we cover the topic on cover letter, which I did, and you also requested that to guide you on writing the effective resume. Any tips or any examples of writing a good resume, right? Um, Resume, the main thing is that resume always include, you know, basic resume, your name, your contact information, your education, your relevant professional experience, skills you have, and then you tailor your resume for each job application by reviewing the job decision for keyword and requirement. Okay. You make your resume clean, professional, and easy to read, and employers only have few seconds to review each application. So make sure that your resume are really effective looking. They are, really presenting you. So your resume is one of the most important document in a job search. Okay. The goal of your resume is to quickly help employers learn who you are and whether your skills, your experience that match the position you are applying for. Okay. Although like each resume, they will differ depending on your education, on your profession, on your history, on your industry, right? And position. So there are few key components that you might include in your resume. Okay. That's make sure that you include these. And if you have pen and paper, you can write those right now, or you can always go back and watch my channel and, get the viewpoints. Okay. Uh, you have to pick, of course, make your resume according to your industry, what you need to include on your resume while you deciding to add or remove or alter any section depending on your application. Okay. Make sure okay, I will cover the key components right now. Okay. For you guys. Make sure you have your name, your contact information. A minimum of your contact information section should include your name, your phone number, your email address, correct? Depending on type of the job you are applying for. You might also include a link to your online portfolio or your professional website. And we covered all that in when we were I was explaining about you know cover letter, right? What to include in the cover letter. So, for example, for your contact information section, make sure you have your name, your phone number, okay, where your location is, correct? What city, what state you live in, what is your email address, what is your social media profile, correct? Or your LinkedIn or your, your website, correct? So the common practice to use your name as a title of the page formatted so that employer can easily identify your name and contact information, right? So the the second section after you made the first section about your information will come as a resume summary or the objective. Your resume summary or the objective should be short, okay? 1 to 2 sentence section that briefly explain who you are and why you are qualified carefully, Okay, review the job posting for clues on which you of your technical and soft skills will be most important and relevant. Your resume summaries and objectives are like, they are not same. Okay, don't confuse the summaries and objective. They are same. They are same, but they are slightly still different. And you should choose to include one or both depending on your background and the position you are applying for. Because a resume summary will describe your work experience, while a resume object, what is the object of your resume, your objective, that will state your short-term goals. A summary is a good if you have at least some work experience that can be quickly summarized. An objective statement, however, is a better suited for those who has how would you say they are either recently graduate from high school or college or otherwise have limited job experience. Correct? So mainly your resume summary should include, you could say recent graduate, eagerly looking to expand, your experience, whatever job search you are doing, either in a construction or in whatever field. If you are going in construction, like a growing contractor, or, so according to the job you are searching for. Okay. So in both your resume section, your summary, it's important to avoid talking about topics. Okay, that would be those topics. Make sure that those topics are more suited for job interviews, such as how much you are hoping to earn, right? How much they're gonna pay you. Those are for job interview questions. Those are not relevant to your resumes. Okay, so then number 3, in the third section, it should include your education. The resume education section is helpful for employers who require us like certain degree, certificate, or level of experience. You should include your most recent and relevant education based on your level of experience. And the element of the education, it should include, okay, you can put that in the bullet points, which is name of your school, location of your school, the degree you obtained, correct, if applicable, any certificate, your field of study, your graduation year, if that's applicable, your GPA. You may not want to include, this if it's not above, 3.4 average. Okay. Any relevant honors or academic recognition, coursework, activities, or other achievements obtained during your education. Consider only listing educational experience as they make sense of your career experience. As such, high school graduates should list their high school information, but college graduates should, they should not include, or they don't need to include or not to list their high school, because, they are college graduate, correct? So, however, once you have post a secondary degree of any kind, you should always list that any other post-secondary education experience in your education section, correct? So your education section could look as like, put your college name up there, right? Whatever, if any technical college or medical college or anything like that, put your college name, what year you graduated, right? What month or year, and what year you was there, correct? And then your associate degree, what kind of, your certificate or degree field, okay? And then what kind of program it was or however, correct? So that would be number 3. Number 4, you will be listing professional history, right? That's also called your experience or professional history section, because this is an opportunity to showcase the value you brought to former employers. Like, you should list all of your most relevant work experience, beginning with your most recent job. You should focus on your experiences from last 10 to 15 years, correct? Or like people who have that, right? But people who don't have that, we already covered how they're gonna write those resumes, correct? So for example, if you've been working as a, would say a professional for 11 years, right? Any kind of field you can pick that you are applying for. You can, leave off the jobs from earlier in your life that may not be relevant to this position you are currently seeking, right? Currently job you are applying for. So you may be able to, leave those out from your resume. But only put those jobs that are relevant that you are applying for. Alternative, if you have little or no job experience, right, you should list what employment you have had, even it does not seem completely relevant or related. Because if you don't have that much experience in that field, so you can go ahead and you should list what employment you have had, even it does not seem, as I said, completely relevant or related. So potential employers can use that experience to get an idea of what kind of worker you might be, as some of the valuable soft skills you learned at an unrelated job are, like, you can transfer those, likely to be transferable to a new job or industry, okay, or industry you are planning to go into. You can also list experiences that you might have had in, volunteer organizations or anywhere you, help did the volunteer work, correct? Especially if you held office or if you had many other responsibilities in that section. Your employment history should include the name of your employer, your job title, years of employment, and few bullet points with your strongest, most relevant accomplishments. Okay. Especially lead with like strong action words and follow with accomplishments rather than a task. Employers are interested in what you achieved, not just a task you done. Correct? They are more looking to see on your resume what you achieved. When possible, use number or measures of your success. Right? You can say, like, for example, of course, you're going to put your name, your company, utilize, you utilize, like, suppose if you work in construction, you use welding tools or building projects, right? Or you assisted a safety manager with the OSHA requirement, right? Or regulations or checks, or reducing time spent on checks, by 10%, manage a small team of, construction team or welder team, or for advanced project or multi-million dollar contracts, correct? So it's important to keep your bulleted list short and focused only on the most valuable achievement you had with your employer as they relate to your current job search. Okay. And then number 5, list of relevant skills. List of relevant skills, list of relevant tools, list of relevant certifications. That will go under your skills section. Okay. You should include relevant technical or hard skills or soft skills. You can include any tools you mastered, right? Or certification you obtain as well. The skills you include should be relevant to job that interest you. For example, you may have excellent hard skills in different areas, but all of those skills may not be applicable to this job functions. Okay. So if you're required, right, that may or may not be a good skill to put on your resume when applying for a job, right? Like suppose a violinist, right? A person who play music, right? That may not be a good skill to put on the resume when you're applying for a construction job, correct? So you can learn what skill potential employers are looking for by reading the job description. As you read through job posts, write down keywords that match your skills and include them in your skills section as appropriate. Okay? And they make sure those skills are matching with the job you're applying, and your skills section might look, different, little bit different. Technical skills, you can, write that if you, as I said, we was just earlier talking, if you're applying for construction, you can write about technical skills that, welding, electrical system, modern safety, equipment, knowledge of major OSHA safety regulations. You have a OSHA certification. You have a welding tools certification, right? And additional skills, you can also write, okay, these were my technical skills, but I also have additional skills, which is willingness to learn, right? I'm very attentive to the job, and I'm very organized. I'm very effective communicator. I'm very safety conscious. Okay. So these are the skills, like for later on, I will actually cover with you guys, what could be the best job skills to make your resume, stand out for hiring manager. Okay. But at this time, we are just talking about, writing a resume. So number 6, let's get to the point. Number 6 is additional relevant accomplishments and volunteer work. The last section to consider adding to your resume is a short list of any other relevant accomplishments or volunteer work. Only include those that are relevant or that may help create a better picture of who you are as an individual as related to the position you are applying for. If you're not sure what information may be fit for this section, reread the job description that interests you. Okay. Consider if you have any experience outside of the professional history you already added, which may help employers, understand your qualification. Got it? So whenever you submitting your application, your resume is the first document potential employer will use to decide whether or not you are a good fit, or your well-developed resume could help you to recognize by employer looking for candidates like yourself. Correct? So these are the main, I would say, bullet points writing effective resumes. Since we covered traditional resumes, let's talk how the evolution of the traditional resumes came upon, how it changed, right? Now we have functional resumes, we have chronological resumes, or something else, whichever is the best resume style for you and the job you want, correct? So, best selling author, correct? The career coach, or what you call that, professional, they usually takes to consideration about all different kind of resumes, correct? The functional resume usually are created because so that employers and recruiters will see your knowledge, your expertise prior to your work history and educational, any accomplishments you might have. Okay. So those are mostly used for that if you're not interested in changing careers, or if you have a good relationship with your current or previous organization. Okay. So if you want to gain more responsibility, okay, and strategic involvement, and more importantly, either if you want to move out, the function resume could be that you can consider. Okay, because usually I would still say I'm not convinced that functional resume is the answer for your job search challenge. Okay, and if you have any guidance or insight whether professionals should use, or hiring manager or hiring recruiters should use functional or chronological resumes. Okay. Because the advice you will receive is partly right and partly wrong, because it doesn't show a real understanding of how resume have evolved and why they are so evolved nowadays. There used to be chronological and functional resume with the letter design to emphasize the skills you bring to the job while de-emphasizing, right? How you gained that experience good for people with misstep in their work history. But always remember, guys, always remember to make your resume stand out for the job search, so you get the job you are looking for or the job you deserve, right? Because in last 2 decades, recruitment has, its jobs are mostly moved online. So job search tactic must likewise be internet savvy. Your resume will go into database, okay, which are so numerous that nobody knows how many there are. I seen some of them, sometime 800, sometime 500, so sometimes it's thousands of resumes. So some of them contain upward or half, I would say, half of millions resumes are out there. So there are 3 hurdles on for your resumes, okay? You must be clear to get to, you know, out of those database and into the conversation with your employer, right? Make a copy of your formatted resume and save it on, .doc file, okay? Doc file, okay? Clear all formatting, left justify everything. Make sure it's all left justify, okay? And clear all formatting. Even the most ancient application tracking system that we use in HR is ATS. It's used to scour the database, will pick up on resume formatting in this way. Okay, so make sure it's all left intended. So it must pass an initial 5 to 60-second glance by your HR manager. So it need to be easy to read in a font size big enough to be scanned. Okay, and it must position you as logical candidate for the job and speak intelligently to the needs of that hiring manager who is looking to hire the best candidate for that job. And further target your already job targeted resume to the specifics of each particular job posting, right? But take a step back and take a step forward also. Look back. Print, newspaper and magazines writers have always had to write a manner that enable editors and production to, for the article at the end of any paragraph in order to fit the article with the page layout, yet still leaving an article that made complete sense, correct? Right? We all read those magazines. We all seen those newspaper articles, correct? So the opening paragraph shares the highlights of the story, and each subsequent paragraph dives a little deeper into the topics. Subheads help a reader quickly navigate the information. And then you also have to see how does this apply to your resume format, okay? Because as resume writer, they become more used to the way resume database worked. A new style of resume evolved that boosted discoverability in resume, okay? And the database searches and used frequent descriptive subheads to increase visual accessibility for those hiring managers. And resumes today, they follow flow of information based on, couple of criteria that we all are familiarized with, right? The customer is always right. Find out what the customer want, and they're always right. So the new resume layout, with the new resume layout, with these consideration in mind, here's the layout and information. Your resume should always use the target job title as a headline after your contact information, like we covered that before. So this helps because job title, guys, okay, the job title is the first term the hiring manager puts into the dialog box, when they are searching for those candidates. Plus, that title gives the reader an immediate focus. Next comes a performance summary, okay, subhead that address what experience you are bringing to meet the customer's stated needs for that job. Okay, use the employer, what is possible, what they are looking for. So this section is not for the information on what you want or think. Okay, all your manager at this point in this section just want to know that are you capable of doing this job or not. And then after that, next comes the professional skills section. In this section, lists all your skills you bring to the job as they relate to what employer is also looking for that you can do or This is the most visual, accessible when done in 3 columns. Okay. When you formatting those columns. So together, the target job title tells a recruiter that you have, or the hiring manager, that you have what the hiring manager is looking for, your performance summary, then confirm that you fulfill the job's most critical needs and the professional skills section to support this with the hard skill required for successful execution on job deliverability. Okay. Create a professional experience section. That's the final one. In final paragraph, create an professional experience section. Focus the information on what you have done as it relates to employers' needs. Right? It's important to include all the hard skills that employer want under each job where you applied these skills. Repeating them under each job increase your ranking and therefore its discoverability at the search engines, correct? To cut a long and complex stories short, that the modern resume is a hybrid of traditional chronological and functional resume. It evolved to meet the needs of the times. Okay? So now let's cover, the resume lines. Should you use resume lines? Should you not use resume lines? Or how to use resume lines? When you apply for a job, okay, it's important to submit a resume that effectively highlights your qualifications and has a clean format. Adding resume lines can help you organize in various sections of your resume in a way that gets the hiring manager to keep reading and they are interested in your resume. So knowing how to do this improve your chances of your resume getting noticed by your hiring manager. So in this we will cover that whether you should include resume lines, right? And how to use or the steps for adding those resume lines and providing you with, I will provide you some examples on that. Like, should you include resume lines? What are they for? Right? You might ask, Miss Ruby, why do we even need to use resume lines? So while you don't have to include lines on your resume, guys, you can use them to divide the different sections of your resumes, therefore making it easier for your hiring manager to read your qualifications and information. Okay. For example, if you have a heavy text resume, or you have a few horizontal lines, can add some separation and space between the different sections of your resume. Okay. And if you have a like 2 or 3 columns resumes, sometimes using vertical lines can help you separate these column sections. You can also add horizontal lines below your contact information to separate it from the rest of your resumes. Okay, is it clear so far? So clearly defining the different sections of your resume help improve its overall readability and improve the chances of recruiter or your hiring manager reading the entirely whole resume. Okay. So you might ask, Ms. Ruby, how do you add resume lines? Guys, in order to create a resume with divider lines, you need to follow a certain set of steps. When used effectively, your resume lines can help define the different sections of your resume, allowing recruiters to better digest the information you are providing them with. Okay. So use these steps to add your resumes. Okay. Um, you can reduce your margins, right? Number one. That's first of all. Number one is you can reduce your margins. In order to use resume lines effectively, you need to have enough space for them, to be used on your resume. Consider reducing your margins that will give you actually extra space to work with. For example, if you can reduce your top and bottom margins to 0.05 inches and then your side margin to be no less than 0.75 inches. So giving yourself this extra space on your resume ensure your divider lines that don't touch the text that you already have on your resume. Okay. Number 2, insert a few lines. Make sure it's not showing too heavy on your resumes. Determine where you want to include your resume lines, how many resume lines you want to use, and whether you want to include horizontal lines or vertical lines or both, right? Opt for 2 to 4 resume lines at maximum throughout the entire documents. If you're using Microsoft Word, use one of the following, um, ways to like add lines, like use hyphens, use borders, use horizontal lines, right? Then you might ask, okay, Miss Ruby, how do we use okay, tell us about hyphens. How do we use that? Use hyphens, guys. There's 3 um, type hyphens all in one lines. Okay, type 3 hyphens all in one lines, and when you press enter key, that create a line for you to use on your resume. Okay. Got it? And then you can use borders in because in some home toolbox, you can find borders. Um, you just go option and click the drop down menu. You will see on the border section, then select the first option called bottom border. Okay, that will populate the horizontal line for you. Okay, and then number 3, you can also use a horizontal line. When you find the borders option in home, toolbox, and click the drop down, select horizontal and the word to, use a word to insert that line onto that document. Okay, so there are 3 ways, by using hyphens, by using border, and by using horizontal lines. Then make sure, number 3, okay, make sure you check the formatting before you finalize your resume. Take a moment to review your formatting, ensure everything lined up for you, and that you have a clean lines with plenty of space around. Okay. Then let's talk about using template. If you want to add lines on your resume need to follow a certain format. If you need help formatting your resume and need a visual aid, right? Regarding where to place your resume line, consider, you know, writing your on your left hand, write first your last name, your phone number, your email address, then comes the education section. Under education section, you can put your high school name, your college name, university name, the city or the state, and the degree and the field you have, and month and years of attendance. Okay. Then comes experience. Under experience, you can do the job title, company name, employment dates, right? What were like bullet point? What were your job duties, right? Duty number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Under that bullet. Then go for the next company name. Same thing. Employment dates, same thing. Job duties. What skills you carry. Okay. So once you know how you want to format your resume, start writing your own. Consider where you want to place your various resume lines and make sure to use them strategically. Okay. Writing your name, your phone number, your email address, your education, what city, state, that was, if it was, what kind of degree or certification it was a time frame, what month year and to what month year that you was there. And then you write your experience, you write your experience, what you experience you had, if it's arts or entertainment, or where it was, right? If you was a um, writer, if it was at the Seattle Press, or it was at some wherever city or state you are, write that. And in that experience, write month and year to month and year. Okay. And then after that, what you did while you was there, right? In those bullet, like you manage, you train team, or the reporters you was working with, right, in that industry. So just write in those bullet points what you did over there. Okay. Then goes to the same thing, goes for second job. If first you was a news reporter or writer, or the second job you was a copy editor, so write same thing. Write the company name, you write the month and year, then month and year, and then proofread stories, grammar, spelling, all of that, make sure, even as, for example, as a copywriter, this is what you used to do, correct? So write all that experience maybe in bullet points, in, 4, 5, 6 bullet points, okay? Um, and what kind of skills you have, right? If you was a writer, then, you know, um, what kind of skills you have. Adobe, you can say, or if you were a writer, HTML language, AP style, SEO, correct? All of those are skills that we use in that job function. And then adding a style and formatting those resume, right? Apart from resume lines, like we covered earlier, correct? Apart from resume lines, you can use a variety of other elements to improve the overall effectiveness of your resume. Correct? Be consistent, guys. Before you submit your resume, make sure you follow the same formatting rules throughout. For example, make sure the headers have the same style and line up all your bullet points and indentations, right? It will give your resume a cleaner look and show your attention to details, right? In the whole section. So again, let me repeat that for you. When styling and formatting your resume, be consistent. Before you submit your resume, make sure you follow those formatting rules throughout those resume. Okay? Make sure headers have the same style and make sure they all line up. All of your bullet points and your, indentations all are lined up, because that will give your resume a better look and it will show your attention to details. Okay. If you need to add colors, you have a creative career, or consider adding some colors if you're applying for some creative jobs, right? Aim for maximum of 2 colors to avoid too many distractions. Limiting the amount of color, you may also use, colors you use allow you to draw just enough attention while showcasing your creativity, right? And look for orphans. Orphans, they refer to single word left on single line by themselves, right? So search for these on your resume and try to edit in previous lines so they can fit on one line, okay, with other words. Because this makes your resume look more cleaner, all while giving you extra space also for lines to write about your other qualifications. Correct? And then also be mindful. Okay? Be mindful for the design you are using. Okay? Unless you are, you are a designer, don't use any photos or visual elements on your resumes, guys. Okay? Unless that's kind of job you're applying for. If you have more traditional resumes, adding these type of elements create, like, it's unnecessary distraction and it takes away from the information you are trying to provide on your resume. Okay? Don't add that. Keep it clean, keep it simple. Okay? And then always use, best format on those resumes. Whenever you are writing, make sure you are using a best format. for common resumes. Because the great resume, guys, it can capture the attention of your hiring manager and help you stand out from other applicants. There are different ways you can format your resume, but the three most common resume format, as we covered in this earlier sections, they were, like we talked, chronicle resume, functional resume, combination resume, right? Now modern resume. So each of these resume type can be beneficial depending on your background and objective that you are applying for. Okay, when making specific formatting decisions like margins, the size, the font style, okay, your goal to deliver, right? What format you are trying to deliver. And it's easily scannable document that allow, your employer to quickly see if you are a good fit for that job. Okay. So format your resume for your career objectives, right? Um, and then make sure you apply those. Okay. The most popular resume, as we covered before, are the chronological, functional, and combination. When deciding which resume format you should use, consider your professional history and the role you are applying for. For example, if you're limited work experience, you might instead focus on academic work, volunteer positions, or apprenticeships, right? With functional resume instead of from the chronological resume, which prioritize your job search, right? Chronological resume or simple resume that will show, your name, your contact information, your summary, your of objective. Under your name will come, where you are located, your city and state, then your phone number, your email address, right? And then under that, these are, I'm talking about chronological resumes. Under that, you will have a summary, um, you know, like you work and exceptionally organized, friendly, you know, uh, assistant with 3 years of experience, successful experience, right? With any office, suppose it could be a dental office or anywhere else, right? Or other clients, correct? And then you write your professional history. Professional history, it's, where you work, what was the name of that office? Where did you work? What month and year you was there, right? And what was your job? The job could be, if you're working as a assistant, you're, prepare the rooms for, meetings or patients or whatever you was doing, correct? So write your professional history. Same thing with the name of the company you was working for, from what month to what month and year you was there, and your 3 or 4 bullet points what you did over there, right? And then under that you're gonna do like education history, right? What you did. If it's only high school, then you're gonna write high school. But if you already graduate, college graduate, then you don't need to write everything about your high school, that what high school you graduated from, because then you only need your college information. Okay. And then at the end, you'll be writing your skills, right? What kind of skills you have, right? Suppose if you're working at a doctor's office, what can you do? You can do the X-ray certification you have, all those skills that you can do, or what kind of experience you have, right? So those will be covered under chronological resumes, correct? So list your work experience in reverse and, you know, starting from your most recent position at the top, the most traditional resume format, and for many, how many years remain, you know, at that position. Uh, the chronological resume format usually include, you know, like contact information, your objective, your summary, your relevant skill, your professional skills, your education, and any other additional volunteer or, you know, any special interest. So you might ask, Mr. Ruby, so when do we use chronological resume? Chronological resume, guys, is a good choice for anyone whose employment history shows a consistent advancing career path. Okay. For example, you might select a, you know, these kind of resume format if you spent the past several years in the same industry and each role you held was more senior than before. Okay. Last role. And it also often used by people who are applying for that position in the same or similar field to the majority of their work experience. Okay. But however, if you have multiple gaps in your employment history, you are looking to change a career or your work experience is heavily varied, you may want to consider a functional or combination resumes, right? The combination or functional resume, they focus actually on more on your relevant skills, right, than work history. Because the chronological resume format, we use that work experience with detailed summary of achievements with each position because you stayed in the same position. The function format and focuses on that applicant skills set relevant to the role you are applying for. But the functional resume, guys, they format usually include the, you know, contact information, objective or summary statement, summary of relevant skills, work experience, education, additional information, right? Volunteer work. So you might ask, Ms. Ruby, so when should we use now functional resume, right? Because the functional resume are, as we covered before, they're different than chronological resume. Because if you have one long gap on your multiple, you know, in your resume in the past 5 years are like, you know, first time in the work you are drastically changing your career path, then consider a functional resume. Because by highlighting skills that transfer across industries and your most relevant accomplishment, you can emphasize the right qualification for the posting you want, because this also prioritizes the information that most important to a, you know, job hiring manager, or rather than any focusing on work history, or it doesn't even align with the job. Okay. Because in some cases, guys, a functional resume, it might be too limited. Remember that. Okay. Because if you have some experience and few or no gaps in your employment history, a combination resume might be the right resume for you. Okay. Because in combination resume, it's they are, you know, easy to blend for chronological logical and functional resume type, because a format allow you to emphasize both your work experience, your relevant skills. Okay, because your skill and employment history, it will consume most of your resume space. You may need to eliminate optional section as such as summary statement or volunteer work, right, or special any special interest. So as a combination resume format, usually it include, your contact information, your objective summary, your most relevant skills, your work experience, your education. Okay. Because those combination resume, guys, it's more flexible format. So you should list either your skills or your work experience first, depending on which you consider more important role. Okay. For example, if you have many unique skills that are especially valuable to the industry in which you are applying to work, you might consider listing them above your work experience. Okay. It can also be helpful to look for clues in the job posting to understand what is the most important for employer for that ideal candidate, the skills they are looking for, and if you can able to provide those skills. Okay. So you might ask, okay, Mr. Ruby, now tell us. We understand previous resumes, but what is the what is combination resume? Why we use combination resume? You already experienced combination resume, but why do we use them? Combination because it may be best for you because you're making a slight career transition, guys. Okay. If you have a diverse employment history where relevancy to the role you are applying for may not be immediately clear. For example, you might use combination resume if you're applying for a manager position. If you have extensive experience managing teams, if you have never officially had a manager, job title, this type format can help you showcase your leadership leadership accomplishment and transferable leadership skill. Okay, so choose what are the best resume format for you, and these three formats usually apply on all resumes. Protect, how do you say that, use appropriate margins, right? We covered on that. Select professional readable fonts, correct? uh, and then make your font size maybe 10 to 12 is the best. Okay. um, Feature sections, headers, use bold font, increase the size 12 to 14, underline your section headers. You can also use bullet points wherever is appropriate. Okay. And then always you can ask feedback, from someone. Let them read over and let them check it. And then, use just simple format, uh, you know, resumes for chronological resumes, uh, for functional resumes, and then for same thing, it's combination resumes as we covered before. Okay. All right. Well, hope this helps. And then again, this is Ruby Singh with Jobs and Career Advice. RubyKaurSingh, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.